What's poppin'? It's your man, Garrett Harper, aka Yankee Bayesian, recording for Black Asian Magazine. I'm here again. I'm here with a different special guest this time. He's like my little bro. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to him and let him say his name and where he's from. All right.
What up, good people? My name is Litha SK, and I'm from South Africa.
Bet. All right. So this next question is gonna be like a 3-part question. So, first, where did you grow up? Where do you live? And how long have you lived there?
Okay, so I grew up in a small town called King Williamstown. It's in a province known as the Eastern Cape in South Africa. So the province is the most southeast point of the country. I grew up there and I went to school in another small city nearby called Grahamstown. So I was at boarding school since the first grade. So I kind of grew up at school in a way. So since I was age 6, I spent only 3 months a year at home.
Yeah.
In terms of where I live now, I live in Mungyong, South Korea. And I've been here so we're in October, 8 months, only 8 months now. Yeah.
Because we came through in the same orientation to this country town. All right, moving on to the next question. So, what made you decide to leave home and travel abroad in the first place? Like, what drew you to want to get out of your home country? Because I know, certain countries in Africa, on the continent of Africa, you're predominantly black, So it's like, what made you want to leave that security and just that culture to come and explore somewhere else?
Good question. So during my schooling, I'd been fortunate enough to have the opportunity to travel during school. I'd been to Australia in the 10th grade for 2 months on student exchange. I had also been to England in the 8th grade to visit a friend, as well as Ireland in the 12th grade.
Yeah.
So Ireland was sort of a model United Nations debating kind of trip, but we had some days of leisure as well. But I say this to say that that small amount of traveling, I kind of fell in love with traveling itself, because I realized how much you can just grow from being thrusted into a different environment, different cultures, how much you can learn about people, and most importantly about yourself. So after I'd studied, after I did my degree, I didn't want to go and continue in the field that I'd qualified in. And this opportunity to teach English in Korea, I stumbled across it from a friend actually. And I thought to myself, okay, I've had the opportunity to travel, but all the nations I've traveled to have been Western-run nations. Like you mentioned, African countries are predominantly black. True. However, it's still things are run in a Western way, Western systems.
From the past conquerors.
Yes, exactly, from the history. So I thought it'd really be interesting to experience a different culture, what's known as Eastern culture.
Yeah.
But that's not what drew me to coming to this area of the world. What drew me to coming to this area of the world was that I'd be interested to see how a society ran when the people who make up the majority of the society ran it according to their rules, their culture, their traditions. So that's what drew me here in the first place.
Okay, that's what's up. All right, this next question. So, give us an idea what it is like back home, like how you grew up, how it is with your everyday life back home.
Okay, so how I grew up. Now, as many of you are aware of the situation in South Africa and African countries in general, is that most black people were not actually wealthy or living well, right? So there's a lot of poverty. However, in my instance, I was very fortunate, in that my parents are educated. And they were part of the small percentage of black people who made it out, in a sense. So by the time I was born, my parents had made it out the ghetto, as you call it, right? So I grew up very safe, always provided for. Grew up in a very nice home. You know, everything was provided for. Had helpers, domestics, what people would know as maids and stuff. So, you just told me that.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. I was like, what? Yeah, amazing. You're not the only person. Our other friend Gugu, she same thing. She said that and it's about where she had, big place, lots of maids. I was like, what are we talking about? Like, because in the States, it's just, that's unheard of for us, for a lot of black people that come from the hood and things, maid, like what? Only time we see that in the States really is for the people that got, mad money, or some of them that you consider Uncle Tom that don't consider themselves black, but they want to live with the rich and stuff like that, and they forget where they originally come from. And so those are the type of people you hear that have maids, or people from, expensive private schools in the
100%.
States. But yeah, like
100%.
just being regular, nah. Nah, player.
Yeah. So I had that upbringing, and with what you're saying, right? The black people who are often wealthy or form part of that bracket, it's also the same circumstances you mentioned. Usually, what you call Uncle Toms.
Yeah.
People try to separate themselves. Private schooling, which is also what I had. So my upbringing was very eye-opening in the sense that I got to see both worlds, right? So in my town, because it's a small town, since my dad is a doctor, he's always been very in touch with the community around him. So through that, I could say we were isolated from experiencing poverty and those hardships directly, but we definitely experienced it by proxy, and by that I mean through seeing people you care about, mostly your family, mostly extended family, and the people within the community, seeing how they live and being aware of how they live. You got to see that. And as well as values being instilled, those African values of community, humility, ubuntu, humanity, right? So that's the one world, and that formed a huge part of my foundation. Now the other world is where, as I said, the schooling I attended, right? Now, being South Africa and the wealth distribution we're aware of, it's not a far stretch of imagination to understand that when you're in a private school, any wealthy environment, it's white dominated. So a lot of the people I went to school with, the teachers, the staff members, these were the white people and wealthy white people as well.
Yeah.
So I got to see how things were conducted in that manner, because those schools ran that way and they had those Western values. So I got to see how things were conducted in that manner. However, there were just simple things that kept me grounded as a child. So as you said, you can in a way be detached from your community through wealth. And one of the simple ways this happens in our environment in Africa is that a lot of dudes who have my background can't speak their mother tongues. It becomes obsolete to them. They don't really speak it. But a little thing, my pops used to do is that when we were kids and we'd come home from school and we'd try to speak English in the household, like he'd get on us straight away. You're not going to speak English yet, You guys are going to speak Xhosa at home. That's the language. And along with that really kept me grounded, and I also had that exposure of the other world and learning how to stand for myself and be independent in a system that may not necessarily favor you. You know how it is. You got to work hard. You got to know who you are. All of that.
Yeah. All right. So you touched on this earlier, but just go run through real quick again, like the places you visited that you have traveled to.
So London, England.
Okay.
In the 8th grade, that was a 10-day vacation, because since it was a boarding school, I had a lot of international students. So I had a friend who's originally from Zimbabwe but based in England. So I went to go visit him and stay with his family there.
Nice.
And that was really amazing.
Yeah, I love England. I got a lot of family there.
Yeah. But then again, when you're 14, there's only so much
So much you can
shenanigans.
do. Yeah. I mean, you can get in the mischief over there, but yeah, I understand. You can't enjoy it like you can now.
Exactly. And then there was a student exchange. This was in 10th grade, so I was 16. So this was in Sydney, Australia, and was a 2-month program. So we would apply at school, and then they select 6 of us, and they spread us to 3 cities in Australia. So 2 of us went to Sydney and went to a school there called Cranbrook. So that was an amazing experience, one of the most rewarding experiences of my life, just learning and growing wise,
Yeah.
just seeing how Australia was different but the same in many ways, so that was really amazing. And then part of the program was that your host, so you stay with their family for 2 months, and then they come back to our school and they stay in the boarding house and visit your family, etc., for 2 months as well. And then the Model United Nations, so that was in 12th grade, what we call matric. The school selects a number of debaters, right? Because we're debating in our school, and we form sort of mini delegations. It's like play, United Nations. So we represented Philippines. So it was very interesting learning about another country and stuff. And where you go to a conference, it was about 5 or 6 days, and you basically simulate what the UN is like.
Yeah.
And there's about 700 people there from many different countries all over the world. Middle Eastern countries, of course, European countries, Australia, New Zealand as well, America, Canada. So that was also, once again, great opportunity to grow, just meeting all these people, And after that, we had 4 or 5 days of relaxation, leisure.
Yeah.
Which in Ireland was partying, man. Those people, oh man, I've met people like that. Those people know how to party. So that was really amazing, Just also seeing the sights of the country, going to the Guinness factory itself. Really, really a phenomenal experience.
That's what's up. All right, so moving on to the next question. Like, what are some differences that you can think of and pinpoint that are, from being back home and being now in South Korea? Like, what hit you like Ralph top of dome? Like,
first thing I noticed was just the standard of living here. Like, man, in South Africa, there are homeless people everywhere.
Yeah.
Homeless people everywhere. Most of the population can't afford cars. Most of the population don't have proper housing and stuff, secure housing. So here, that was the first thing that hit me. Like, there's no one starving or in poverty to the point where they're stripped of their dignity. Right? And with that now, I also noticed the crime is really low, as it naturally would be, because if people have most of their needs covered, there's not much motivation to commit crimes.
Yeah.
And then the most hard-hitting thing I noticed is just how people treat each other here, Like at our schools, for example, when the school takes people out for dinner, it'll be right from the principal to the caretaker, the man who cleans the garden and stuff.
Exactly.
Everyone is there eating equally.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these people, they actually see everyone as like equal human beings. Where in my country, the wealth and class distribution, as well as the level of jobs people have and how they're viewed, is very much split by racial lines too. So then you don't have that humanitarian, brotherly, sisterly, or equal effect, And the last thing I noticed was that the businesses that people run here, someone will run their own business, and the dude who owns the business will be the same guy who cleans the tables, who serves you and everything. That's unheard of. Again, in South Africa, it'll be owned by someone, but the people who serve and do all the labor will be paid scraps mostly, and will have no shares in the business, and won't have a reasonable standard of living. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things I noticed. Those are the very commendable things about this country.
It's usually like either the owner of the school or the head, the eldest person. If they invited everybody out, they're the ones that pay. So it's definitely a different style. I love it. All right, moving on to the next question. We're gonna go off of like, what do you do for work, and just go into as much detail as you can.
So out here, I'm an English teacher. I teach at 4 different schools.
Yep, got me beat by one.
3 of which are elementary, so 3rd to 6th grade, and 1 of which is a middle school. So that's middle school, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. In my country, that would be grade 7, 8, and 9. My middle school is a Catholic school, so I went to an Anglican school, so very familiar environment, just by it being governed by religion.
And is it co-ed or?
All girls.
All girls, okay. All girls Catholic school. All right.
And very disciplined because of, the Catholicism and whatnot. I do enjoy the job. I do enjoy. It's how can I say? It's rewarding.
It's mad work though, because 4 schools, all the lesson planning you're doing, and like it can get mad challenging. Those days.
Yeah.
Thank goodness for soju. Oh man.
He said that.
Yeah, I said it. Hey, I'm like I said, my birthday's coming up. I'm already there technically.
Yeah.
So, especially I've been celebrating in 7 years. So I got But matter of fact, what he's not telling y'all though, this dude, his profession back home. Tell him about that though, and then look at the different jumps. This is why you never know somebody. You can never know too much about somebody. You never know what life they came from. You can't judge somebody just by their cover or by where they're from. Just listen what he did before he came to be an English teacher. Check this.
Okay, so back in South Africa, my degree, I had my major, a bachelor's of medicine and surgery, so MBCHB. So I qualified in 2017, and the medical industry, or if you can call it that in our country, it's very real. Like it's serious. It's very real, So that's some serious work. It's a very uphill system. A lot of the doctors are working like swimming upstream, so many social political factors against them, what they're trying to do. And that was part of the reason why it wasn't for me, I pushed on to finish the degree, and I'm glad I did it, because any exposure in this life, you learn a lot from. So I learned a lot from that. I learned a lot about society, learned a lot about people, learned a lot about myself. But after I qualified, I realized I like teaching, So at the same university I qualified at the University of Cape Town. The following year, I spent a year there, just tutoring, sometimes lecturing, 2nd and 3rd year medical students, mostly working with 2nd and 3rd year medical students, whether that was in small tutorial situations with the theory, as well as, and mostly just helping them clinically with training them in clinical examination, as well as assessing them in clinical examination in the foundational stages, because the degree is such that as you go into more of your clinical years in your 4th, 5th, 6th year, now you're working with specialists and the exposure is heavy. So because it's a very short staff system, from 4th year, we in the clinical field. It's very odd. If you ask anyone who qualified in medicine anywhere in Africa,
Yeah.
it's very odd for us to hear that people who did medicine in first world countries, let's say, they haven't done laborious tasks like, delivering children, delivering babies, just your usual things, taking bloods, doing those procedures.
Yeah.
So we form part of the workforce during our degree. I mean, just in our fourth year alone, you do 15 assisted deliveries. From sixth year, you
bringing new life to this earth, people. You hear it? He brought plenty of children onto this earth.
Yeah, and from fifth year, you're assisting in surgery. Sixth year, you're assisting in cesarean sections. You get very good exposure to resuscitation. A lot of us, it's part of your requirements. You have to assist in actual resuscitations. So you can imagine those situations. We did ambulance shifts in third year where you go into the community with the ambulance, and there are situations where it's only three of you, and you have to do what needs to be done in this current situation. So I've had clinical partners from third year who've had to resuscitate people. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. It's like a very real experience, which I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in anything you do, you gotta figure out what you're meant to do here. And that wasn't the path I was meant to follow. In short.
So pretty much you went from doctor, being English teacher.
Yeah.
Hey, you different walks of life. You might be heading down one path and you hit that abrupt turn and start going down another. So you never know what path life is going to put you on. So you just gotta go with what you feel and what you truly want. So you're gonna hit those bumps and obstacles, but you just gotta push through them and decide what you want out of life. Be happy. So we on that route.
Yeah.
So next question: explain as a black person. What is it like to work and live over here?
Okay, so it can be two sides. So I'll start with the positive first. The positive is that I think I'm particularly lucky in the schools that I have, that how the colleagues and superiors have treated me. It is not the treatment you'd expect if you're working in that space in South Africa. So both my brothers have corporate jobs, and the treatment they get and what they have to deal with, how they have to navigate, is not what I've experienced here. People, they treat me well, treat me respectfully, they trust me to do my job.
Yeah.
I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder, not being targeted. You don't feel targeted. Where in the corporate spaces, which again are white dominated in my country, a lot of black people feel really targeted and
same thing in the US.
Unappreciated,
yeah,
as you say.
Definitely overworked,
all of that. So I have not felt that in the workplace. It's been a very positive, relaxing experience for me. However, now in the general just society, so Mungyong is a small town. So the people here can be quite conservative. And again, it's not the same brand or flavor of racism like in South Africa. But it's still there. Like I would say here the racism is like it's just, I don't want to use this comparison, but it's like a beer. Right? 5%, it's a beer. You can have one or two and you'll be fine. Whereas in my country it's like straight up vodka shot, like you know what it's doing to you. It's straight up, So that's the difference, and it's just when you talk to people and you want services done, you want to be served, everything goes smoothly. There's no problems there. But it's just the how can I say, the people's ignorance in a way. People stare a lot, so
they haven't been outside the country. They haven't dealt with anybody of any other nationality, like dark-skinned people or anything like that. So they're, like you said, they're ignorant to the fact. Like
exactly,
they just don't know.
It's more based on ignorance. stare a lot. Every day, it's just eyes piercing through a skull. You know, people stare, especially the old people. But that's fine because they leave you alone. And also, what can be a bit annoying is people are really curious about like my hair and stuff. So sometimes people will touch it and ask questions and stuff like that. But
and there's only 4 black people in this town.
yeah, it's only
you,
4 black
me, and then 2 black girls.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
see, you either running into him or you're running into me.
Exactly.
Simple as that. And as you can see, I don't got long drive. You know what I'm saying? I like my just straight up short. Like I'm just I'm good.
Exactly. So, but I mean, that's been just about it. You know, just in many ways, it's been very relaxed compared to what I'm used to having my guard up at home. There's one more thing I want to add. Another thing I got the opportunity to do, and I'm grateful for coming in, is just linking with other black people from other parts of the world, mainly other black Americans. So we don't often get to make those connections in person.
Yep.
So I felt very lucky to be able to meet that family and make those connections. It's been very rewarding.
Most definitely. Especially when I bring you around the military bases. It's
Exactly.
like, that's where it's like you get a melting pot around there too.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the next question. We got a couple more and we'll go ahead and close out. So, like, what kind of jobs or businesses do you like see other black people having over here or associated with? I know you have, for a fact, like you know some there in Daegu because of your times you had to go there for certain things.
So, as I said, going to Daegu, there are a few sisters who have hair salons.
You remember their names?
The sister I go to does my hair. She's brilliant. Her name is Vivian. Her hair salon is right at the gate of Camp Walker, that base, right at the gate of Camp Walker. So you should hit her up. She does a great job. Not just dreadlocks, but weaves, extensions, braids. Ladies, you know those things.
You hear them, people. Daegu, near Camp Walker. There's a place over there, Vivian's. Go over there, support her. Everybody flood her with business. That's what we need. We need more of that.
Yeah.
Flood her with that business. Make her just feel so welcomed and just at home and just let's do it.
Facts.
Let's get it rocking. We gotta support each other, especially in foreign countries. We got to. We got to. Let us thrive together.
So, the hair salons. Vivian as well. On the strip, there's a few other sisters as well. Military and contract work. Contractors, yeah. Those are the kinds of jobs that I've seen black people have here in Korea.
Yeah. Okay. So, can you tell us, like, what's something that's real positive that you just love about out here?
Real positive. It's a beautiful country. It's genuinely beautiful. The nature, the mountains, it really surprised me.
When you travel,
the beaches, really, really beautiful country. And everything works so well. The people are serious about their work, whatever their work is. They're serious about it because they have the attitude of that they're serving their country in any way they can, and that is a very positive thing because everyone does their piece and things run smoothly.
Yeah.
So I really like that about this country.
And another thing too is like, if you take the buses to the cities,
Brilliant.
especially the premium buses,
Brilliant.
my God, like reclining seats, like you almost laying down flat. It's crazy. So to end off our interview, and I know the projects you're working on, but tell the audience the projects you're working on, what you're involved in, and what you got planned in the future. The dude can do it. I'm gonna let him speak on it, but this dude got some fire.
My passion is making music, rapping. So
Got bars too.
so I'm a rapper,
Bars.
and at the moment I'm working on 2 projects at the moment. One is just in the mixing and mastering process, so that can take a while. And the other, I'm just wrapping up recording, the last few tracks. So as I said, that's my passion. That's what I spend my time doing, if I'm not teaching in the class or traveling or whatever. And the people I'm working with at the moment, I still have links with some young producers in South Africa, because we all coming up. So the friends, I started this with the foundation of it. There's 3 of us at the core and 2 other friends. We're all sort of doing our own thing, but the 3 of us at the core, we started a collective, and our mission in our minds was, okay, we're going to push this music thing, but we want to always be in control of our content.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, you got to be in control of your own financial engine. So that's when we started working overseas. One friend, he's working in Dubai in the hospitality industry, and I'm working here. So our mind now mission is stay creating all the time, but secure that bag, so that
for sure,
once we're done here for a year or 2 or whatever, we can pull together our resources and push our mission further. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. Always writing, always recording. Just trying to better my craft. End of the day.
That's what's up. And then we have a buddy here who's from Australia, James.
Oh yeah.
He's up in Seoul. We're gonna see him this weekend for the shenanigans. That boy makes some fire beats. An Australian white boy.
Surprisingly,
makes some fire beats. So
James and I have projects lined up for the future. We have a project lined up for the future coming in next year. In the first half of next year, we're going to be working together, not only creating musical projects, but James also has a degree in film. So we're also going to be making content as far as visual footage as well. So the future looks good. So in total, I've got 3 projects lined up for the near future. And the more work you get done, the more you get inspired. So I'll know what's next once I complete project after project.
That's it for our interview. I appreciate it, my bro, coming through and blessing us with your presence and your information. You know what I'm saying? How we do it. And we got some prepping to do for this weekend shenanigans. All right. So once again, it's Garrett coming to you from Black Asia Magazine. And we out.
Peace and love, family. It's been an honor. Have a good one.